Welcome back to another episode of the Thunderstock Show, a collection of valuable brainstorms to enhance your life, liberty, and pursuit of property. Today's special guest is Bryan McDonald. We're talking about the EOS life. Bryan's got an interesting take on that. He helps, well, I won't spill the fun, but he helps other people to live the EOS life in his own unique way. Bryan, what's new and exciting? It's a long time no talk. It's been great to reconnect on the pod.
I know, man. It's been great. Lots of new stuff. I think we're talking about this. Business is good. Always could be better, right? Never satisfied. Always chasing my ambition. So life is good, man. Hopefully, the same with you.
Yeah, and if that answer changes, let me know because I feel like that's the right answer always. Hey,
Always, right?
room for improvement, right? Growth mindset.
Yeah, exactly, right. I'm my. It's the blessing or the curse of an entrepreneur. Like my ambition is always in front of me. I can never catch it.
Yeah, I was watching content recently. Alex Ramosi, who's got like a 250 million or greater portfolio of businesses. He's like, I'm the poorest person in my friend group. He's like, my sense of lack of like could be better is just dwarfed by who I surround myself with. It's like,
Yeah, I was listening to something. I forget what it was. It was Joe Rogan. I don't know. I was listening to something where a guy was talking about a billionaire friend who's got, he's worth 3 to 5 billion, but hangs out with people that have like 10, 20 billion, and he feels like he's poor.
I think it's all relative, and it's really, it's
Relative,
all
right?
relative. The people I try to avoid, and it's nothing against them. It's just that I can't really relate, and maybe it's just a different way of seeing the world. Is oh yeah, I'm super stoked where I'm at. Like nothing could be better. Like I've arrived. Like and or people that are
Yeah.
like can't catch a break. People. It's people that have already arrived and they're done, and people that feel like they're a victim. And I'm like both
Uh,
ends of polarity. I just don't get.
yeah, actually, do you think that's a different version of the same thing?
I think so.
Yeah, right. Like I've arrived is like I can't do any better. Like a negative thing, and the victim is I can't do anything better, right? Like, well,
Or I
world
won't.
sucks around me. World sucks around me, right? Like, I don't know, like I can't relate. And again, like you said, like it's not that they're bad people or there's something wrong with it. I just can't relate with people that are like, I'm complacent. Like we don't get each other.
There's got to be something, right? It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be money, right? That's just one of the games that you and I both play as entrepreneurs. Is yeah, it's a marker on a scorecard, sure, whatever. But like maybe your golf game can get better, right? Like you can't play a perfect round of golf, like anything. Not that I care about that, but and the topic of growing, like you're either growing or dying. I think is an EOS core value, which we're kind of alluding to. But your partner, your business that you're in is called onPurpose Growth. Love the name. How did you arrive at the name, and what does it mean to you?
I would love to take credit for it, but my business partner, Jeff, came up with it. Even like if you look at the on purpose, the O and the N are small on purpose, right? Like even the name and the logo are done on purpose. And it's because many people think success, sales success, growth is not predictable. And it is. You can make it happen on purpose. You just have to hone in on the right things and use the right approach, the right philosophy. Because I've run into people where, they hire me to coach them, and uh, the reasoning is, hey, I've had some success, and I don't know how to repeat it. So they
Mm,
can't do anything on purpose. They just got there and look back and go, what the hell did I just
that
do?
was a happy accident,
Exactly, right? Some
right?
people call it happy accident, some people call it luck, whatever it is. It's like if you cannot articulate how to repeat success and or actually do it, you didn't know how you got there. Maybe luck, right?
And that applies to marketing, sales, weight
Everything.
loss, whatever pursuit you're looking to go towards. I love the term luck because one of the definitions that I've heard and it stuck with me is that luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Oh yeah.
So it's like instead of thinking that, I got lucky, that's like the unexamined life. It's like, all right, well, what opportunities was I prepared for at the time? and how do I increase the frequencies of these opportunities occur, and how do I increase the preparedness for said opportunities, and then the outcome is you're more lucky, right? But that's growing on purpose.
Yeah. There's patterns in everything. You have to find the pattern, whether the pattern gets you where you want to go or the pattern doesn't. I'll give you an example that's like outside of business, but it's the pattern. I was sharing this today with a group of consultants I was talking to. So my kids are 8 and 12, and they're in different schools right now, middle school and grade school. But when they were both in grade school and younger, let's say my oldest was in 3rd grade and my youngest was in kindergarten, going to the same school. School's at 8:45, and I take him to school. The first bell rings, so to get him there at the first bell. And I'm not that far from the house or from the school. And I was having a hard time getting them out of the door to school, so I'm not late to a 9 a.m. meeting. And for a while, I was getting mad at them, like, God, you guys can't get ready. You guys can't get ready. And anybody listening, watching this, if you have kids, you understand that you want to get kids in the car in 5 minutes, and it takes 20. Right. So I was blaming them, and I took a step back, and I said, wait, like the pattern is it takes them this amount of time, and it takes them 20 minutes, and I try to start at 8:30. So I'm the one with the problem. When I moved it to like 8:20, 8:15 to get ready, guess what? We started getting there on time, and I was getting my meetings on time, right? It was the pattern that I took a look at, not like looking around me going, what are wrong with these people? I mean, they're my kids, right? Like they're just acting like kids, right? And it's when you take that view of the world or philosophy, you start noticing the patterns and go, oh, boom, here's how I fix that. Right. It was in front of me the whole time, but it took me about 6 months to figure out, to be honest.
And that's, I think, one of the benefits that having you as a coach, because it's easier to identify patterns for other people than sometimes to self-examine, right? It's a major benefit. EOS uses language or phrase, can't read the label from inside the bottle. And I think that's correct. One of the things, right? Because to some people it might be random, right? They're like, oh, I can't see the pattern. But to you, the outside looking in, who's worked with X amount of EOS implementers or other coaches or other people that are doing that same type of thing, you have enough sample set of data of witnessing other people doing things to say there's patterns in, you're not terminally unique.
No, not at all. And you do it long enough, I'm sure, with you in marketing, is the larger buckets where the patterns sit, and I'm like, oh, when this is going on, okay, I'm going to look in that bucket and like, yep, here's what it is. It's like, for one of the things that I see in a lot of people is, they're out there looking for referrals, and all they do is when they're with their referral partners and centers of influence is they describe what they do. They don't actually say, this is my ICP. Is there anybody that you can introduce me to? Right. And I mean, it's crazy, right? Like
changing that one thing.
Yeah. Because I have to explain to people like, hey, describing what you do is not the ask. It's not. And we're all humans. Humans take action off of requests. So if the request is missing, most people won't take action. There's a few people, there's a portion of the world that will just like, they're connectors and things like that. They'll make connections, but other people won't. Actually, let's go back to the thing where this started and you and I were talking about like, hey, things are good, but they always could be better. There was an implementer that I worked with that was complaining. The reason I worked with him, he's like, hey, like I'm not getting referrals anymore. I'm used to making $750, $1 million and through referrals, and it's drying up. And I asked him, I said, so after peeling the onion a little bit, I said, so are you actually asking them? He goes, I don't think so. Like, okay, here's what I want you to do. For the next 2-3 weeks, I want you to have a clear request. Well, he came back and he said, Bryan, you'll never guess what happened. People said to me, hey, you said you will. Were good. I thought you were good. I didn't know. I thought you were full. I didn't know. Right. And he made about, in the next quarter, this is causation, no, it's correlation, not causation. He made $385,000 in the next quarter.
In a quarter. Times it by 4, that's doing pretty darn well. Like top of the heap.
That was probably, it's probably one of the best quarters, right? Where I fell in year, but still like he was making a silent request. Because actually when you peel the onion, that's the pattern, a silent request, meaning I'm going to go meet with somebody. I'm going to want something from you, but I'm not going to ask. And when you don't fulfill that silent request, I'm going to be disappointed that you didn't do what I didn't ask.
Yeah. You're getting frustrated about unmet expectations that are uncommunicated.
Correct. And that's a pattern. right?
Yeah.
It's just a pattern, right? And you just kind of notice these things, right? So objectively, because I've been doing it for this so long, you just know the general patterns. Like everybody feels like they're on an island, they're unique, and when you boil it down, they're not.
One of the turning points from a marketing perspective to share a story similar is it was probably a couple of years into doing marketing that I really understood that there's always a time for what they call direct response. Like
Mm,
the choice is binary. They will either do the thing or not do the thing. So if you say, okay, yes or no, and if you don't
yep.
give them a question or like a request, the answer will likely always be no.
No. Right.
So
By default.
by default, the answer is going to be no because they don't know what the ask is. So if you don't have at least a yes or no or a call to action or, subscribe to my newsletter, buy the thing, talk to a sales, whatever the ask is. If you don't ask, the answer is almost always no. And if it is
Yep.
yes, you lucked out. And I had a client that ran a retail store. It was a boutique. It was for all intents and purposes should have been infinitely more successful than it was. And I reviewed their social profiles where they spent the majority of their time making content and posts. And they're like, oh, well, we've been doing Facebook ads for years and it never worked. And I'm like, you're spending $5 to boost a, happy 4th of July post, like with nothing in it for the person and not nearly enough budget. So I was like, how about we run a sale and let's do $500 and let's just do it to your audience because you have a huge audience because people like your store. They just don't hear from you. And they did more. And I'm not kidding you, Bryan. They did more in 2 weeks off of that one ad, that one change, than they did in the prior 13 months.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So they did like $110,000 of revenue, which is really bad for the store. Should have been doing like 600, 800K. And they did 110K off a $500 ad spend. They're like, what happened? And I was like, you just did the basic thing. Like you just did like a basic thing that you should have been doing.
Yeah. And from your opinion in marketing, like the whole, like just put up something for 4th of July, that's just brand recognition that works for bigger brands, but you have an established huge brand, right? Like, am I off?
I, it can't be the only thing you do. Right? Like, sure, do it. Like, who cares? But like, it doesn't even come across my desk on my radar of things that I even want to entertain. Like,
Yeah.
So to break it down for marketing specifically, like I like this framework of more, better, new, and it's kind of probably taken from I want to say Benjamin Graham's Intelligent Investor, one of these investment principles. It's like if you're going to take budget, time, energy, attention out of 100 of pie, like 70% should be doing more of what's working. 20% should be towards like optimizing or maximizing, doing it better. And then 10% is allocating towards a new thing. And like, if you look at that as an investment philosophy for marketing or whatever, it's like the Pareto principle just about nearly applies to that framework. It's like most of the time they're just not doing nearly enough activity. Like, oh, I had 2 sales calls in the last 30 days and I didn't close anything. People must not want what I have to sell. It's like you have no idea how little that, how off you are on activity.
Exactly. Right. I have people who go, yeah, I had 2 networking meetings, this week, and I don't know why I'm not getting business. I'm like, you should be having like 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon, right? Like if you have a client or not many clients, you need to do more of that. Like that's just, like this is just not enough, right? We call that dosage. You have to have enough dosage for it to, or you have to figure out what the right dosage is and or maximize dosage. And I noticed that too, is people just want to do, I want to articulate this right, not to confuse people. They don't do more of what they need to or the same, right? They just try to do more of lots of things. And it's like
they're chasing novelty.
Yeah, you're chasing novelty. It's like, why stop doing that thing that's kind of working? Because you want sales. Why don't you do more of that other than adding 3 or 4, more avenues to go down? It just doesn't make sense to me, right? Like you're diluting it.
Yeah. And I love the term dosage because to those, who are of age that can consume adult beverages, it's like, if you have a sip of beer, you'll probably be like, this doesn't do anything. I don't feel anything. It's just like ridiculous. But then if you have like a case of beer, you'll probably feel very ill. So it's like, Maybe have two with your wings. Like try that.
Exactly, right. It's about you'll figure out what the right dosage is, and you have to tinker with it, right? Just because it's not creating the amount of results that you're looking for doesn't mean it's not working, right? It could
Yeah.
not be working, but you gotta try more of it and see what happens, or tinker things like you talked about with the July 4th thing. It's like, hey, how about we put an ask in there or have a sale and let's see how this works, right? Like
Let's
sale
give them a
means
reason to say yes,
exactly.
And the other side of that, to dosage, I find that some people don't know when too much is too much either. Like you were saying, networking as an example. Like I can use ad budget as another example. Like
Yeah.
I worked with brands that would spend, I'm not kidding, like $40,000 a month on the same type of ads, and I'm like, look, we either change the ads and change the ask and change the thing, because spending more money is getting you negligible to no net. You're just wasting money.
And that's what they wanted to do. Wanted to spend more.
They were like, oh, well, maybe we're not spending enough. And I'm like, that's not the problem. Like now this is an instance where you either try something new or or figure out how to do this better. And we did a combination of both. And really the new thing had its own set of, learning curve, but doing it better decreased the cost of acquisition for a lead by 80%. And I'm just like, wow, look at that. Like you could spend 20% of what you were spending at the same amount of leads. Like that doesn't that
Yeah.
feel good in your bottom line? Or you can get, spend half and get twice as many leads. Like who wouldn't want to spend half as much money to get twice the leads? Like,
Yeah, it's people scale what doesn't work. Yeah, because it's just more is better. More is not better, right? More is not better. Even I partner with this entrepreneur Ken, who he did a bunch of turnarounds and workouts, and he understands how to grow the value of a business. And he basically states, which I agree with him, growing the top line doesn't mean you're going to grow the value of the business.
oh,
You want to grow the profitability of the business, right? And it's just, it blows people's minds. I mean, I get it, but it's more does not equal better. You could kill a company growing revenue. You could tank it.
I completely, from a marketing perspective, I've had people that were prospects or clients that say, biggest at that time, their only boogeyman or problem in business, we don't have enough leads. So we get them 80 leads in the course of 90 days, and guess how many they closed? None. Zero leads. And like, oh, they're bad leads. I'm like, are you saying they're bad leads because they didn't convert? Yeah. Okay, like what's the sales process? Well, we don't have one. Who's the salesperson? Oh, the CEO. Oh, the CEO who's spending 50 hours a week like running the company? That's your sales guy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So who follows up with the leads once they come in? No one. Oh, okay. So someone filled out a lead request form 3 weeks ago and has heard nothing? Yeah. Okay. That's not the lead's fault.
But Ross, they didn't buy. They didn't buy.
But they didn't buy. They're not customers. Oh, so you say you want more customers. That's different than saying you want more leads.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. More leads does not mean you're going to be able to close them, or because you don't have enough business, more leads isn't necessarily what solves your problem. You may have to figure out how to close the ones you got first. Right. Or maybe you're
Yeah.
attracting more leads. Right. I mean, there's a lot of tentacles there, right? There's a lot of levers to pull. I think people just pull the easiest lever.
People, thinking is hard, especially when it's reflecting on yourself, like looking in the mirror and facing your own BS is hard. And
Yeah.
if you don't have someone like a coach or a trusted advisor to help you reflect, it gets harder. It's harder to do that, right? Like,
Yeah, when we're emotionally involved in our problems, we cannot see the forest through the trees, whatever that saying is, right? We can't
yep.
see it, right? It's because you're so blinded by emotion that you cannot be rational, right? It's just how we're wired, right? I was telling somebody yesterday, the other day. No, it was yesterday. Um, I just was back home in Pennsylvania for a while, and I had to catch up. And this week, and I just was making a list of things I need to get done on my whiteboard that's over here where I'm pointing. And at some point in time, I just felt like this yesterday, this overwhelmed. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get things done. Overwhelmed. I got emotional, and I had to take a step back and go, wait. like what actually needs to get done and what can I do to feel accomplished. And I literally walked out of the room to get unemotional and come back and look at my list and go, okay, here's the 5 things. If I get those done, I'm going to feel good. And actually there's some things on this list now that I stepped away that doesn't even matter if I do. Right. And then it was like, boom, now I reset myself and now I'm rational and now I can get better work done.
It's also the rational part and like removing, because sometimes you can get too high on positive emotions too. It's not even totally. Like just frustration or anxiety. It's not even the negative ones. Like those you need to solve, like what you did, step away, come back, clear head. Absolutely slam dunk. Sometimes, and probably you've seen this many times in sales, you can get almost too high on your wins and then make erratic emotional decisions that then come back and bite you.
I've done it. I was in the process. It was maybe 3-4 years ago. I was just in winning mode. I was winning. I was like, man, I feel like I can't lose. And I came on a prospect that I should have never made an offer to. I knew like this was going to be bad. For whatever reason, I just wanted to win. And, he accepted and I broke away in the very first session. Because I'm like, hey, he wanted a magic pill. And I'm like, I'm not a magic pill. Yeah. And he walked away. I was like, that was painful. Like I should have never done that. But I was so high on winning. I was like, yeah, I can do anything. And like, man, because you probably relate to this, like a bad client can do more damage to your business and your lifestyle than almost anything else. Right. Because I carry that, out of work. I carry it out into other meetings. It's like,
it
no,
affects your home life. Your wife, kids, they can all tell.
I want the right business, right? If I'm patient and don't make offers you shouldn't make.
Yeah.
Right. I preach that to people and I did it.
I'm glad you're saying it. I needed to hear it. Right. Cause I feel like listening to your story, I mean, I'll share why it hits home for me. The first year in business was like, I'm going to say yes. You need help? I'll help you. I'll figure it out. And then year 2, continuation of saying yes, but would compound like more opportunities, more revenue, increased top line, things hitting the revenue goals, the vanity metrics. Like you said, more sales is not equal better business. And then right around year 2 1/3, 2.5, I'm like, all right, I need to reset the goals. What are my constraints? I go to a conference, like a scaling workshop. So I'm a big believer that coaches should have coaches, or at least have experienced coaches, or have other people that they can bounce ideas off of. Because if you don't have anyone you talk to like help you, it's almost, to me, it almost feels hypocritical. So like you said before, it's like identifying what are the constraints. So I go to the scaling workshop and I just really got blasted with reality. They're like, hey, this might be great, but this, and this are awful. And based on where you're at today, this is your constraint, do this. And I just walked away with tons of clarity. And I realized in the flight home, I was like, 2/3 of my business, 3/4 of my business, it's not a good fit. It's not a good fit. Yep. So then I churned through one way or another, just because even though I knew it, like the 3/4 that wasn't a good fit fell off the radar and start over. But then people ask me, how's business going today? It's like, well, it's good. It could be better, right? Like on one hand, you're starting to face the problems and you're getting rid of bad clients that I should never have said yes to. My father, one of the business quotes he says is, no business is better than bad business, which the older I get, the more I agree with. But on the other hand, it's like, I've got more opportunities with the right fit than I've ever had. Yeah. Like pipeline looks better today than ever with clients that I want. And then it's always finding that cycle of like, when you look at the stock market, you don't see stocks that have like a straight line. Correct. Sometimes but as long as the trend goes up and to the right, you're good.
Yeah. Success is not a straight line, and you're delusional if you think it is, right? It never gets, how do I say this? It never gets, I don't know if we're easier or simpler, the word I want to use. It never gets easier. It just gets different success.
Yeah. The weight is the weight. You just get stronger, and then you require more weight to keep growing.
You learn how to deal with the ups and downs. Like I've had the same VA since 2019. He's a great guy, and we would run into problems, and I would tell him, Joshua, this is entrepreneurship, man. We're going to figure it out. He's like, oh, the world's over. I'm like, no, it's not. right? It feels like it right now, right? But this is entrepreneurship. We're going to regroup. We're going to figure this out, and we're going to figure something else out, right? And it's inevitable, right? It's inevitable. You're going to have to figure things out. So thinking that it's going to be a smooth ride is delusional to me, in my opinion.
So I want to go back a little bit to the journey. You've been in sales for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And you've been doing onPurpose for like 8+ years recently.
Yeah. Yeah, we're
9,
coming up. Yeah, we're coming up on 10 years, man.
10 years. So how do I say this? When did you know that sales was your thing? Like, was it really early in your life? Was it post, school? And, how did you start in sales?
Oh God. So I didn't try to get into sales. I didn't do it on purpose. I graduated from Penn State with a management and marketing degree. And I applied for a marketing position at when I graduated Penn State, I moved to Chicago and I applied for a marketing job at a wholesale packaging company. And I learned two things. One, they hired me because I worked a friend's dad's best friend was a GM of a box manufacturing plant. And I worked there during the summer. So I worked at the end of a machine, right? They hired me because I had experience in the industry. Exactly.
Sure.
And then they're like, okay, so you can sell this. And they said it was marketing. I showed up the first day. I was like, wait, I got a sales job. Like what? So I had an account base and everything. So I just was like, okay, whatever, I'll try this out. And I liked interacting with the people. I'm a people person. I like people. But I realized, what I was being shown by the guy I was working for, the sales manager, was not the approach. Here's one of the tells. After about 6 months of working there, he started coming out with me, insisting on come out with me. And I would be with clients, owners of these companies. And when I would leave, they would call me and go, hey, I love you. You're awesome. I'm going to work with you. But if you ever bring that guy back here again, I'll kill you. Or don't bring him back. One guy, my sales manager, went to the bathroom and the president of the company goes, look, man, don't come back here with him. He had been but my boss had a bunch of the accounts that I had. So they just already didn't like him. They're like, hey, we like you. And I realized don't do what that guy does. And I realized that everything that he did was your stereotypical salesperson behavior that was fake. And I realized that everything of me just showing up, being me, is what people love. That actually sold more. So I'm like, oh, wait, so what the world tells me to do in sales is actually more of a deterrent than something that helps me. So then I had to just figure out kind of on my own, hey, how do I do this? And then I hired coaches and mentors, from the get-go. And really where I cut my teeth was I did a couple businesses that basically I had to create something out of nothing, where they were like, hey, here's a desk and a phone. Here's what we do. Let me know when you need help. Slap on the back. Okay. All commission, right?
Yeah.
So I just learned to find my niche. I learned how to interact with people. I learned how to show up as an advisor, not a salesperson. And once I got through that, after a couple of years, that learning journey, I moved to a company, and within the first 6 months, I was the top salesperson in the whole place. And I was like, oh, okay, this is how you do it. And then I just started, repeating that. And eventually I just, I decided and my partner, Jeff, kind of convinced me, is hey, let's go teach people how to do this. He does more of the consulting. I do the coaching. It's we do the same thing, just in different contexts, if you will. And it's because I just gathered a bunch of knowledge from a bunch of mentors. I picked out what worked best with them, with each of them, and I just put it together. And it's okay, this is my philosophy and how I see sales, and it works. I mean, there's multiple people that have become $1 million in personal income that I've worked with, and that's probably the biggest kicker for me is helping people get to that point if they want, right? Not everybody wants to make $1 million, but I've learned I have a knack for helping people do that.
One of the things that you said that really stood out to me was you learned what they call traditional sales first and realized this might work for some people. It doesn't work for me. And then you went and you took the initiative to go, as much as you were spending the time getting in the reps, right? So getting more experience, you were actively seeking how to make that experience better through outside perspective and figure out what's a system that works for you. And it's the accumulation between the original experience, what's standard sales tactics and training Like, what's your own personal experience, like picking up the phone, making something from nothing, and then what's the learned experience from others, and then that kind of created your own service offering with onPurpose. Like, it helped inspire it. One of the things that I wish people I could use that story, and like I wish people could get from marketing. People are like, oh, will SEO work for my business? And I say maybe. And people go, oh,
Maybe.
will social media work for my business? Maybe. Should I do a podcast? Maybe. And like, I don't say to do a specific marketing tactic, because I feel like I rebelled the same way you did with the sales organization, where it's like, look, I'm not a drug dealer, like just going to peddling you like solutions, like, oh, take this pill, it'll solve your problems. Like, that's not it. Like, I got to figure out not only like who you are and your brand, your company, who you want to be, like who your customer is and like how they want to be spoken to. Because typically the best marketing really comes down to like, all right, how can you most effectively tell your story and tell that story to where your ideal clients are listening or already at? Like, there's no one size fit all for marketing. And like, I've learned a ton from the hundreds of businesses I've helped, but like the pattern recognition, I think, is huge for sales and marketing both. Because it's like, look, the only reason I can be in a place to help advise you is because I've seen patterns in people that are like you.
Yeah, and and I know people are probably gonna watch this or listen to this and go, I see these people doing this in marketing and this in marketing, it's working. And in my eyes, that's like it's short-lived. Like, you probably see, it's like the people on social media who are in front of cars and big houses and things like that. Like, they do get a ramp up, right? But then it dies off, or they're scamming people, or right. Like, it's a one size fits all kind of thing. And once you say it's one size fits all, I stop listening. I'm done. Right. Because how do you know when you haven't even one, interacted with me, or two, spoken specifically to my industry or my business, right? You're just very, very broad, and it drives me nuts, because then people try to repeat that, right? Well, this guy made millions on SEO. Like, okay,
Great.
How long did that success?
I want to tell you a quick story, because it's just like, because that hits the nail on the head of how I got started in learning, right? Because back when I started marketing, it was like very early YouTube. Like, there was not nearly as many gurus.
Yeah.
But there was a few that started with the Lambo in the garage and the watch, like all the success signals. And then the one person, I don't want to say the name, I still love the stuff he does, but he completely pivoted from SEO, because the thing that he was doing, that was the secret sauce, got patched by Google and it no longer worked. And then like immediately pivoted to like a software, which like does work, but he used it as a stepping stone. And the software play, he scaled out, and now he does something. But like, if he would have kept trying to do like, his success wasn't SEO. His success was finding a thing that worked and then being good at the vision and identifying this new thing. Like, this doesn't work anymore. Give up on it. This new thing does work. Here's why. And then marketed the living crap out of the new thing. And then as soon as that ran its course, like, okay, pivoted again. But if you don't continually adapt, like he had a period where he sold all the Lambos, all the watches, all the stuff, and he's just like, I'm a minimalist, because that was when Ryan Holiday as a Stoic philosopher was popular. So like, trend acknowledgement's a thing, but you can't ride a trend until it's already dead. And I hate to be the guy who throws shade on newspapers, but like, there's still an instance where newspaper marketing works. It just doesn't have the same efficacy across the board.
Correct. Right. Like, and chasing trends is exhausting, in my opinion. It's exhausting.
I can't.
Right. Like, you can get really good at one vertical, not necessarily marketing, but one market, and just own that market and change with that market, or not change, adapt, because all markets adapt. But I just don't, I don't get it. Right. And again, I'm not trying to build a $1 billion business. So, take that with a grain of salt, right? But I just think, like, if you really understand who you serve, you're going to do well at marketing, you're going to do well at sales, and it's all about them, not about you mastering some trend.
One of the best sales mentors I ever had, because I similar to you, I took a job that I thought was marketing, but it was sales.
It's crazy,
like,
right?
I took this job and I was like, what the world am I doing? I'm a marketer. I've only ever done marketing. Like, what is this? And I learned really quickly from, his name's Chris DeMea. Shout out to him. He goes, Your job is just to help people. Your job is not to get them to do something. Your
Yep.
job is to help people. And sometimes that's to make suggestions based on the knowledge you gain from the human to human conversation. He goes, marketing technology is great, but if it doesn't help you make a human connection, it's worthless.
Oh
And
yeah.
when I heard that, it just clicked. Like, became top
Yep.
salesperson in that career function, got promoted. But like until then, I was like looking for jobs. Like, should I bounce? Like, this isn't for me. So, what are some of the lessons from other sales coaches and mentors that reshaped how you do sales?
The first one was, he's a friend today, but a great mentor for probably the past 15 years, this guy, Bryan Marshall. The number one thing he said to me was, hey, for you to sell more and to sell a lot, you need to stop selling. And I'm like, what? Huh? And he's like, yeah, like this. I'm like, holy crap. And then I went and did it, and I went and approached it this way. I'm like, oh my God. It's, I'll say it this way: help people buy, don't sell people. Right? It's like everybody wants to buy, nobody wants to be sold. And it's like I can pick up somebody trying to sell me from a mile away. I'm like, I'm done. Right? I don't care. I don't care if you have what I want. I'm done. Right? So it's stop selling, because the buyer seller dynamic, the psychological dynamic, is buyers are going to put up a wall thinking that you're trying to sell them something. And when you don't do that, it knocks them off kilter, right? In a positive way. Like, oh, wait, you're trying to help me. Right. So that's the first thing, is stop selling. The second thing is get people to convince you that what you have is what they want. Right. Like,
you're flipping the script almost.
Flipping the script, right? Hey, why would you even want to do this? Like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, this statement has sold me a lot of money. Are you sure you want to do this? Oh, well, yeah, Bryan, this is what I want to do. So I want to do this, this, and this, and this. Okay, perfect. So then here's how we move forward. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, right? It's like it's a law of physics, right? So for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Like, if you're pushy, like a pushy salesperson, they're probably going to push back, get defensive, shell up, like, oh, get away from me. But if you're like, hey, I'm open, they might be open back. They might mirror.
Exactly. Like, hey, I don't know if what I do can help you, but let's talk and let's figure that out. Oh, yeah. Okay, perfect. Yep. There was once where, it's funny, I'll never let this down. My partner Jeff got an introduction to a company, was talking to them, was telling me, yeah, this is a deal, blah 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 blah, and then talked to him for 2 months, and nothing ever happened. About a year and a half later, a guy that I kind of is like a grandfather to me had a client he was coaching and said, hey, this guy, his company needs sales help. And he introduced me to him, and boom, it was the same company Jeff had talked to. I had one conversation with them where they needed to train their salespeople on consultative selling approaches. And part of it was listening and asking questions. And all I did was ask them questions and listen. And at the end of it, I repeated back to them what they told me, and they go, yeah, that's exactly what they want. That's exactly what we want. How much is it? What's this? Okay, perfect. When can you fly out here? And boom, I closed the deal. I really didn't sell them anything. I just repeated back to them what they wanted. I actually don't think I ever made a statement in that conversation other than at the end when they asked me, like, hey, so what is it that would you do? I was like, I would teach them this so they get this, teach them this so they do that, this, and all I was doing was repeating back to them what I said, right? Because they were ready to buy. They were ready to buy, right? I just had to let them buy, pretty much.
A lot of things you're saying remind me. So I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My father was sales his whole life, forever. And he said to me one time, this was about something completely unrelated to business. This was like when I was in high school and I was like interested in girls for the first time.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, what do I do, Dad? And he's like, ask questions. He's like, don't try and can't force someone to go on a date with you. But if you ask questions, you can figure out if you want to go on a date with them. And I think the same thing kind of applies to sales. And I think 100%. He probably told me that through the lens of sales. It's like, hey, like, before you assume that you want to do business with someone, like we talked about before, no business is better than bad business. Like, make sure you want to do business with them. And how have you, on that same train of thought, how have you landed on identifying who you want to do business with doing your role? Like, how do you know like what your ICP is?
That's a great question. I'm going to answer it in more than one way. With who I work with and coach, it's, consultants, coaches, EOS implementers, mostly people like that's about 90% of who I coach. I believe that everybody actually has a picture of who it is in their mind, and I just have to pull that out, right? Because a majority, if not all, people that I work with do what they do because they want to make an impact on the person that they serve, right? So there's a reward that they get outside of monetary, right? Watching people win. I kind of said it's like, yeah, like when I help somebody get to $1 million in personal income and revenue, like that's awesome, right? Like that's a reward I get. And that's actually how I figured out who I want to help with is like, what's the demographic, and more important, what's the psychographic, right? Like who is that person? And that helped me start identifying who it is, as also position myself. I'll give you an example. This morning I was talking to a bunch of commercial real estate brokers and consultants, and one of them asked like, hey, Bryan, so there's this other organization out there in the commercial real estate world called such and such. So they do that and you do what you do. What's the difference between you and them, and somebody who has where they have a deep knowledge and background in commercial real estate? And I said, and this is where I think it's our job to draw the line, the distinction for prospects. I said, hey, you want to work with me if you want to change your way of being in sales. You want to work with them if you want to get into the weeds of deals. We're different, right? We both help with sales, but if you want somebody who's got a huge background in commercial real estate, comes with biases to real estate and get in the weeds, I'm not your guy. But if you're somebody who goes, hey, I got all the knowledge in real estate, I just need to change who I'm being in sales, I'm your guy.
It's almost like if someone confuses a sales process or sales training with like your CRM tool. Like,
correct. 100%.
Like, hey, if you want a new sales process that and how you do sales, like the steps and the why and the stages, probably talk to Bryan. If you want somebody to manage your tool, your CRM, and have it be bespoke for commercial real estate, talk to that person, right?
Yeah. People raise their hand. If you raise your hand and say, I'm the problem, not the things around me, I'm your guy. If it's the things around you, I'm not your guy. And I'm okay with that. I actually make it okay for them to be okay that it's not me. And that actually doing that allows people to, one, who's saying no to me, refer me to other people, but also it allows the people who really want to make change go, yeah, you're the person I'm looking for, right? Because I make it okay to say no.
I think sometimes the best way to help people is by saying, I can't help you, but this person can.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, because then one, they're probably be like, oh, wow, he's not just trying to win me over and take his hand, reach around my wallet. Like, I'm like, no, like there's some things that I just can't help you with, but I probably know someone who can, because at least I know enough about your pain.
Yeah. And it's genuine, right? Like, I think that there's buyers want genuineness and authenticity. And and it shows up in their world, one, they're surprised in a happy way. And two, they don't want to let you go, right? There's people who say, Bryan, I met somebody else that I think can solve my problem and it's cheaper, but you get me and you're more expensive. So I'm going with you. And I just had a guy yesterday come back to me after a year and go, hey, I made a mistake. Like, I liked you better, but I went with their system and their system actually doesn't work. And now I'm back and like, I need to work with you.
I love playing the long game of helping people. So I'm going to tell two stories real quick. One, can totally relate. I had a now client who I worked on a project for that person, and he had worked with an agency for like 6, 7, 8 years, like long-term relationship. But I did like a strategy workshop with them and gave them, here's your plan for 90 days, for a year. Here's why, here's the things, all the things that go in the strategy. And he was like, great, this is helpful. And then I hear back from him 6 months later, 9 months later. I think it was like almost a year after we did the strategy. He's like, hey, come couldn't get the agency to do any of the things that I wanted them to do. I don't have the time capacity to do the things that you've outlined. And I don't know if the agency's working based on this new knowledge. And actually, business has been getting rough. And I said, great, happy to help. And we've been working together. And within like 30 days, proved ROI working with me. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I can't prove ROI for the last 8 years. My only regret is I just didn't know the pain I was in before. And it's not like I did anything crazy. I just was like, ask questions, right? Like, and was flexible enough. And then the other thing is, we talked about traditional sales teaching, and there's some people that lots of nuggets of good from like the Zig Ziglars, Jim Rohns of the world. One of the things that I want to clarify that you and I definitely agree on is the concept: if you help enough people, like you will get some form of reward, just by the law of nature, reciprocity, whatever you want to call it. But it's not, I think some people look at, if I close enough sales, I'll make enough money to be, it's like, no, if you help enough people, if you refer out enough people, the likelihood that people will then think of you positively and refer back to you, I think that's what that quote means. So what does that concept mean to you? And like, how do you live by that?
I'll take something you said, and it's the long game, right? I'm playing the long game. It's not the fact that I'm like doing things to struggle now and just depositing things in the future. It's the fact that, how do I describe this? I'm doing that. Like, I'm referring people out. I come from the get-go, and I tell people like from the beginning, like, hey, like we're going to talk and I may not be your guy. Right? I just want you to know that from the beginning. Right? And I'll refer you out. And I'm assertive, but patient. Right? I continue to do the right amount of activity to produce the sales that I desire now, but I also play the long game in that activity to push things out like you just described, or with the guy that I just described, because the long game is momentum. It's like a slow moving train that's picking up speed, because the longer I go, the more comes just from existing and playing that long game, right? I'm not pressing too hard on people. I'm challenging them and driving them to a decision, but I'm not pressuring them. And people love that, right? And I make these deposits into the universe, right? Of helping people and making sure that I could say, hey, I just want to help you, and then I do something different. But what I do is I say, hey, I just want to help you. And I show them that. So my actions and my words line up. And that goes a very long way, right? Where it's creating exponential results in my business and my life, right? Like, it gets easier through time, or simpler, and both, right? Simpler and easier. And that's really what I'm looking for is, simple and easy, to the point where like, I'm known in some markets, just known. And it's just like, I get referrals out of the blue, right? Like, just because I'm known.
You made an analogy that I'm going to steal. I'm going to let you know. I might quote you.
It's in my head.
You said something about making momentum on a train, right? Because trains are not notorious for stopping and starting on a dime. There's not like a Tesla, right?
No.
It takes a while to get up to speed. But if your train tracks you're on the wrong tracks, you're going the wrong direction, doesn't matter how fast you're going, you're just going into a worse place faster.
Correct.
So I think what we talked about earlier about like, hey, making sure that you're selling to your ideal client, like they're really your ideal client. Because if you're selling high volume to the wrong client, like I did in the past, like you get more overhead, more headaches faster.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you might be making some money and you think you're on the right track, but like, it's not the impact that you want to go. It's not the destination you want to go. And then the other thing you said about momentum, it's really interesting. Is like, if you're doing the right things, you then get more momentum, I think, right? Because the compound interest, like, I don't know.
I was talking to somebody that I forget who this was. I mentioned this earlier today, and I forget who I was talking about, but we were talking about entrepreneurship and success, and it's all about discipline and consistency, and those things are boring.
Oh, it's like, really boring.
Boring, but it works, right? Like, it's like, just kind of show up and do the same things and stay in my lane, be disciplined, stay consistent, and not erratic. My partner Jeff would call it building a stable system, right? I have a stable system, right? And anytime you try to do any deviation, it messes with the system. So just, do the system and simplify, right? It's kind of like there's in one of my sales processes, people fill out a questionnaire, and I've done it so many times that I know what the people are going to fill out. I just know. I know when somebody comes into my world, like I can talk to you for 30 minutes. I know where you're going to put on that. Right. It's like, I do look at it, but I don't even necessarily look at it. I know like you're going to have this core issue, this core issue, and this core issue. Right. And then I repeat almost the same meeting over and over and over again. Right. And that does jazz me up. It's not boring. It's just, I'm able to, it's scalable, if you will.
Right. Do you think Tiger Woods ever got bored of playing golf, even though he spent how many hours of his life doing it, practicing? Probably not. Right. Like, but I think what you said was incredibly important. Like, people are like, oh, well, why can't someone just build an AI that'll wipe out my business? And I'm like, if that's what your threat, if you think that's like the biggest opportunity threat in your business is that somebody will just build an AI that'll, out execute you, I'm like, you have no idea what your actual business is. Because one, do you think someone is going to create this novel, technology and it'll just overnight just wipe out your market share, your reputation, your brand, your client list? Like, that person would have to do so many things for so long of a period of time consistently to make sure that it actually works. They do client support to understand the niche. Like, a tool can't wipe out the operator of the tool. And anyway, that concept's top of mind for me too, because it's like if for somebody to come into the marketplace and be like, I'm going to, Bryan has 30,000 connections on LinkedIn. It must have happened overnight. And, I'm sure if I ask you like how, when did you start on LinkedIn and what inputs did you do to get to your following? You'd laugh at me if I said, oh, was that 90 days? Probably. That's a hilarious question.
Hilarious. Do you follow, he's a brand marketing guy, Chris Do? You know who I'm talking about?
Chris Do. Sounds familiar.
He's an Asian guy. I follow him on Instagram. He's an Asian guy. He's pretty big. He kind of flirts with her Hormozy world. It doesn't matter. Okay. But he said something awesome. He's great. Like, I love his guy operates and thinks just like you and I do, and he works specifically with creatives. He said something that really hit home. He goes, in the world of AI, all it is information. And right now, information is cheap. Yeah. What isn't cheap is your ability to ask questions that drive the information from AI. So it's all about, and that's people's biggest issue, in my opinion. People's biggest issue is they don't know how to use it, or they don't get it to work way they want to work. It's not because it's the AI. It's about the questions that you ask. To really leverage AI, you have to learn how to ask really good questions, because your question determines the output of the tool.
And that's just with generative, like that I agree with 100% what you're saying. That's specific. People think that AI is just like Chat GPT, and it's like, right. No. Like, if that's what you think it is, like, you're going to get your lunch eaten in the marketplace. But to your point, like, I never thought about this analogy until talking to you, so I'll give you the credit in this one too.
Perfect.
Like, AI is like oil. You think oil is the reason that people don't ride horses anymore? No, it's like Henry Ford. It's Volkswagen. Like, just because there's an innate new substance or material in the world that can change things, like, you still have to, like, Ford. Does Ford compete with Subaru and Nissan and Honda and all these other brands? Sure, but like they don't compete with horses anymore. So my analogy kind of sits on like, all right, just because AI exists, think of it like oil. Like, there's a zillion different ways people use oil. Like, we can talk today because we have access to transportation, cars, we have electricity, like we have like heat and air conditioner in our house, like. Think of AI as like this pervasive new thing. Like, there's still a million ways to use it.
Yeah, you have to innovate with it. Just innovate. Yeah. You're not gonna. And that's what most other people do. And if somebody can innovate you out of business and take it over, you don't really, like you said, you don't really understand your market, or you actually really don't drive value to your market. Like, I'll give you an example. I got a client, is a fractional CFO. Been a fractional CFO for a while, and or he's been a client for a while. And when COVID hit, I had been working with him for about a year prior. And he sent me a one day, like, I think it was like, let's call it May. Let's call it May. He sent me an email, and it was an article, because he's local here in Chicago, from the Chicago Tribune, I think, right? And in it was about a fractional CFO business that had about, let's call it 9 or 10 fractional CFOs working under it, where the article was about how they're going out of business, that at the end of February, they had like $90,000 in recurring revenue. And as of the article, they had about 5, and they're closing their doors. And he said to me, he goes, Bryan, like, why am I going in the other direction and these guys are going out of business? Because in June of the same year, the next month, he topped out at 72,000 in monthly recurring revenue, with only 1.5 additional CFOs, where these people had 10, he had 1.5. And I said, hey, it's because you're not transactional and you understand your client. You're an extension of the business. You're part of it, where they're just some service line item that they're getting rid of. And if you are not an extension of your client's business, an integral part of your business, somebody will use AI and eliminate you. That's my opinion.
Because your person you talk to stops selling. Like,
exactly.
Because the other person, if they didn't stop, they felt like they had to continually sell and spin on the hamster wheel, or else the wheels are going to fall off. And it's like, when your overhead carry is that high and you're that transactional, and you don't consider the like you said, the big picture, the long game. Like, if you don't look at your business and say, in 12 months, if all things maintain, this is where it could be. Like a CFO, like that's what they do for other people, the financial forecasting, right? But like they might not have considered the sales churn, like the effective client churn, and like why, like client NPS, like why clients are satisfied, like who they are, who are your best fit clients. And that's why I think that any one fractional, like, they benefit from having another fractional. Like the strongest leadership teams, and this is why I love EOS, is because it's like everyone's the right person on the right seat. You have the CFO, you have the CSO, the CMO, you have the operations person, you have the people that are the vision, people that make them all play together. And like, that's what a great leadership team is. It's not just, oh, well, our chief sales officer is awesome, we're going to be profitable and scaling forever. It's like, yeah, but like you said, selling more doesn't solve every problem.
It doesn't solve every problem. And if your chief sales officer says, we just need to go sell more, you should fire him.
So I'm gonna ask again, back to asking questions. One of my favorite parts of doing this show is called Ask a Question, Leave a Question. So the last guest that I had on, he'll tell you, for this instance, I'll share who it was. I interviewed Mark O'Donnell. So from US. And this is a very fitting question for you. Didn't know who I was talking to. And he said, how long will you wait until you demand the best for yourself?
Damn, that's a punch in the gut, because I'm always trying to figure that out, right? It's kind of like I do really good at putting other people first. It's just kind of my business, right? Well, let's start doing that right now.
So the answer is, I won't. You won't wait.
I won't wait. I won't. Yeah. Well, that was a good question. I kind of like
that was a good question.
Help me for a second, man. Help me for a second. Damn, I gotta say thanks to Mark for that one. That was a goodie.
What question do you have for the next guest without knowing who they are?
What do you need to change that you haven't changed yet?
I like the open-ended nature of that.
Yeah.
Open-ended question.
Right? Mm-hmm. I think that people get stuck in patterns of no change, knowing they should change, and just creating a decision point for them is valuable for them.
Yeah. Identifying the threshold. Well, we're about at time. Bryan, It's been a blast talking.
Yeah, it's been great, man. This is awesome. I'm glad we did it.
Scaling, business growth, telling stories. For everyone listening, I hope you also enjoyed the insights that we talked about today, and you can apply them in your life to get more out of it, right? And figure out what you need to change, and ask yourself, why haven't you changed it? I don't run ads on the show. I don't plan to. My only ask, right? My call to action is share the show with a friend. It's the only way it grows. And really, it's the only way we get to have the impact on improving people's lives that we want to have. Bryan, thank you so much.
I appreciate you, man. This is great, Ross. Thanks for inviting me on.
Till next time, be well.